Hello and welcome back to the For the Badge podcast. My man Xavier is off this week, so we're going to go ahead and bring you the episode for this international break solo style. Want to start off. We were going to do some World Cup anecdotes, some history. I've definitely been watching since '98. Had the VHS tapes in the '98 World Cup. Definitely been paying close attention to the USA team, obviously, for a few years now. And we'll definitely get to some favorite World Cup episodes later on, right before the tournament. But we'll take a look back at these games here in the international break, the UEFA Nations League, and some of USA's play as well. We'll take a look at. And then, of course, we will take a look ahead to the Premier League weekend returning. Where else to start? Obviously, USA. Tough match against Japan. We did not look great. Kind of idealist, honestly, I thought, in especially in the first half where we lost the ball 54 times in our own half. That's kind of impressive, actually. We lost the ball more times than there are minutes in the half, so that's not good. Must be said that Japan pressed well. Definitely pressed well, but it wasn't like a complicated tactics. You know, their press was strong. They countered well, and we just had no answer for it. We could not break out with our play. Definitely sloppy in possession. I did enjoy the formation, though. I liked that we set up attacking, tried to go forward, just couldn't get out, just couldn't keep the ball, honestly. And we looked kind of hurried on the ball. Um, I felt like Weston McKennie in both games, actually, even in the Saudi Arabia game as well, kind of didn't really didn't really seem to know uh, how the rotation up top was supposed to work. I felt like he was supposed to be controlling the midfield in the center attacking midfield area, but he just kind of got lost out wide a few times. Kind of was a passenger, really, in both games for me. Um, I thought when we got uh, some subs on in the second half, we were a bit better. Serginho Dest looks like he's shaky. He just had his debut for Milan recently, and that didn't go great. So I will say he improved. He was one of our better players in the second game versus Saudi Arabia, even though we were not great in that game either. Our issue is we just didn't really create anything dangerous, even in the Saudi Arabia game either. Um, so I think Team USA has a lot of work to do. Also suffered the injury blow to Reina. Hopefully he'll be okay by the time the tournament comes around. Hopefully we'll be able to get Pepe back. We'll be able to get some of our main guys that were out for this break back for the tournament. We definitely looked like we missed Musa in the middle there. Going to be a big player for us, I think, in this World Cup, and we're going to need him to come back strong. Absolutely. Little disappointed in Christian Pulisic. Had the armband for the Saudi Arabia game. I know it's tough to lead this team, tough to be, the main man for your nation. And I think there was a bit of the guys were kind of nervous, didn't want to make any mistakes, wanted to lots of pressure with trying to make sure they qualify for the team. I get that. I get how big of a moment this can be, even though it's a friendly match. Um, Last one before the World Cup, and we need some work. We looked like we definitely still need some work, and hopefully Berhalter can bring it together and get it right. And November's coming quick, and we want to be ready. Uh, I honestly think that first game is the most important game. Wales struggled over this international break in the Nations League, and I think that um, two evenly matched teams. Honestly, though, I think that on these last two performances, we're going to struggle in that game as well. I definitely think we need to to bring the energy and the heart. It's definitely what Team USA has been about in the previous cups that we've watched. Definitely in 2010, 2014, and so I think that's going to be our X factor is the heart, is that for the badge mentality, playing for the stars, the stripes. Gonna have to bring some pride. Gonna have to up our game. Going to have to make something happen. It's always dramatic. It's always fun. I definitely am looking forward to it. So we'll take a couple of looks at some of the results from the Nations League. Uh, I think that we're going to take a look at it team by team. Honestly, I think some of them, um, no one's really standing out. Only a couple of teams that kind of look strong like we expected, but there's a lot of unexpected things as well. I think we'll go ahead and start with England since we love the Prem, and that's pretty much where my viewership has been for years and years and years. So the England team looked a little bit leggy. Honestly, I understand the fixtures are coming fast and furious. They looked like um, didn't really have as many ideas going forward. Honestly, I think Gareth Southgate's reliance on Harry Maguire is a mistake. I'm sure everyone agrees with that, or most agree with that, actually. Um, I really hope that he's not gonna put his foot down and stake his whole entire reputation with England as far on Harry Maguire, because he did play in both games and he was, as to be expected, pretty awful in both games. And so, maybe Southgate continue to back him, continue to rely on him, will give him some confidence in the tournament. But I don't think he's going to get any time at United, which he shouldn't, and that's going to be a struggle. So it's very possible that Southgate could hang his whole coaching time here at England on Harry Maguire, and that could be we'll just say it's a bold strategy to go with Cotton, and we'll see if it works out for him. I don't think it will. However, in the second game that where England played Germany, the 3-3 was an incredible second half, I should say. It wasn't great in the first half, and I thought that England really struggled to break through Germany. They couldn't really, the press didn't look uh, as energetic as possibly it could have. And I think that the game really changed when Germany scored, and Southgate had to respond, put on Saka and Mount, and I think Bukayo Saka changed the game. And I'm not just saying that because he's quite the player down at Arsenal. But he did come on, got the assist to Mount. I think he is having a great season, even though he's not necessarily getting the goals. He's getting assists. He's putting in shifts. I love him. I think he's definitely a for the badge man. And he came on for England and did well. Definitely making a case for him to start versus Iran in the first game of the World Cup. Um, Take a look at this goalkeeping situation. It's interesting, especially with Nick Pope spilling that last one to give Germany the tie after England came storming back. It's kind of an interesting one. Jordan Pickford out injured, so Nick Pope comes in. Honestly, for me, and again, this might just be my Arsenal allegiance talking, I still think Ramsdale should get a shout, should get the opportunity, especially with Nick Pope spilling that last one. That's I know that's one mistake, one error, but it's a glaring one. And if Pickford uh, isn't healthy by the time, I mean, I assume he will be, but if he's not back for the tournament, I definitely think Ramsdale should get a shot. He's been great at Arsenal. He's definitely been able to rise within the ranks of Premier League clubs. He's had a good season so far, and I think he's definitely in with a shout. So England, just like USA, seem to have a lot of work to do. We'll look across the score sheet there to Germany, who lost 1-0 to Hungary in kind of a listless performance. It's definitely interesting to me, this Nations League. I had to look up exactly what the Nations League was, to be honest with you. It's kind of like they've replaced the friendlies with this Nations League, but I still am not sure that the teams are necessarily taking it as seriously as UEFA wants them to. You can kind of see it in the Germany-Hungary game. They weren't, and again, maybe this is just because everybody's playing so much right now. They looked a little tired, not necessarily at it. They definitely improved against England. I think it's very important that Kai Havertz got 2 goals. That should be big moving forward for Chelsea. I think that uh, they definitely played well versus England, good enough to win the game. It's a very interesting, crazy one that they, maybe a little unfortunate that they didn't win. Also fortunate that they got the tie. Uh, you know, just results based, not really even looking at the performance. But I think that Germany are an interesting squad. They've got the pieces. I think that they might struggle to score goals. Uh, that is obviously if this doesn't ignite Mr. Havertz down at Chelsea and he starts scoring goals, which would be just 100% what the Bully Shore needs, what Graham Potter needs in the league, as well as moving forward with Chelsea's season. So it could be that Havertz comes in firing for Germany, and that could spell trouble for their opponents in the tournament. Again, Germany, one of the best World Cup teams. I'm sure they will be able uh, to summon the energy, the desire, that for the badge mentality for the tournament, for the World Cup. That's why we love it. I'm expecting, even though a lot of these teams are struggling, a lot of the European teams maybe not looking at it like they usually do, but I think that everyone's going to bring it for the tournament. Kind of goes without saying. But we'll move on we'll take a look at a couple of teams that I think could be really good in the tournament this year. We'll start with Croatia. Ever since I've been watching them, they always bring it in the big tournaments. I've seen some crazy Euro games, seen some crazy World Cup games. Obviously, the finalists in the last tournament. I think once again they're going to be really, really tough as always. They looked good in both games in this Nations League break, so I think they're definitely going to bring it. Also, another team that's looking like it might be a surprise, might be a little bit of a dark horse, is Serbia. And I know I've been kind of on the Alexander Mitrovic bandwagon, I suppose you might call it, but another 4 goals in some just dominating displays for Serbia over these 2 Nations League games. I gotta say, Mitrovic is an absolute monster, and this 2022 has been monstrous for him, even going all the way back to last season in the championship for him. It's just been incredible. He's killing it, and I think that they're going to surprise some people at the tournament. Again, they are in Brazil's group, so that's going to be tough. But Serbia, I think, might get second in that group. It's all going to depend on their game versus Switzerland, who are also looking decent. I think they're going to surprise some people as well. That group is going to come down, I think, to the Serbia and Switzerland game as far as who's going to place second. Did watch both of Portugal's games, and I thought that they, on paper, look about as mean as you can. They got the pieces. Absolutely have the pieces there. Um, I feel like they might struggle a bit against some of the stronger teams in the tournament, especially with Ronaldo leading the line. I just feel like he's kind of looking every one of his 38 years this season, even at United as well. You can tell he's lost a step. His pace is his pace just isn't there anymore, like it used to be. And I think he looks a little bit frustrated, to be honest with you. Um, Maybe he just is struggling to accept the fact that he's slowing down. Obviously, he's still got the skills, still got the shots, still got the history. Obviously, possibly the greatest ever. Pretty exciting that it's possible we could have Portugal versus Argentina in the final round. That'd be incredible. An actual playoff for the greatest of all time in the World Cup final. I mean, the story writes itself, the drama writes itself. That would just be absolutely incredible. I'm skeptical, however, that Portugal can make the final. A lot of really, really strong teams to get through. Yeah, I don't know. Spain's on the rise. They looked to be pretty strong against Portugal in that Iberian uh, playoff there. Um, I think Spain's group is going to be tough, though. Spain have a tough group: Germany, Costa Rica, Japan. So they're gonna struggle, but I think they look strong. I think they are definitely going to be a team to watch out for in tournaments coming up. It was a good game, good 0-0 to the 88th minute. Spain looked strong defensively. They got the goal in the end. Yeah, like I say, I just think that in the end, Portugal might not have enough to get all the way to the final. Maybe Ronaldo will bust out and have an incredible tournament. He's definitely got it in him to do so. And so maybe they will surprise me and put in some incredible performances and make it all the way, and we'll get our super dramatic Messi versus Ronaldo World Cup final. Speaking of Leo Messi, Argentina, however many games unbeaten, a whole bunch, almost 3 years on the bounce without a loss, looking really, really strong. Um, so I think they definitely have a shot. I mean, if Leo Messi wins the World Cup here on what is probably most likely going to be his last one, I don't think there's a question. He's the greatest, the GOAT, especially if he plays Ronaldo in the final and they win. Definitely think that will seal that question, seal that conversation. Greatest of all time. However, once again, I think that my overall favorite for the tournament, um, just because so many teams are seeming to struggle. Maybe again, it's with the congestion of the fixtures, but I think that Brazil are the clear favorites in this tournament. Their squad depth is ridiculous. I think their second starting 11 could make a run at this World Cup. So it's going to be, they're definitely the team to beat. 100%. Um, I just don't think anyone in their group really has what it takes. Cameroon are kind of an unknown entity to me, so I'm not sure what they're going to bring, but it looks like to me Serbia are going to give them, like I say, Serbia will give them a test, but I definitely think Brazil have what it takes to get out of that group. 3 wins out of 3, making it it's just tough for me to see that anyone beating them. And Yeah, for me, Brazil are the favorites. They have the best squad on paper, I would definitely say. Um, like I say, a lot of the European teams are kind of struggling at the moment. France didn't really look at it in their games. Um, maybe they just, again, they seem tired versus Denmark. Um, I don't know. It must be said that Denmark were great in that game. Denmark defended really, really well, got their goals when the moments came, and were able to keep France out for the end, held on. And so, yeah, I think just because everyone is kind of not at their best right now, but Brazil are, that makes Brazil the favorites to win the tournament. Um, it's good to see that Wales struggled a little bit in this break here. Both their games were tough for them, and I think that I obviously again I think they'll up their game. They'll bring it for the World Cup as most teams do, uh, and so that's the game that is most important, I believe, for the U.S. and as well for the Welsh. We're kind of in the same boat as far as our prospects for the tournament. Um, Doubtful that either of us will, we might scrape a point versus England. I'm sure Wales versus England in the World Cup will be crazy. That's their third game. Uh, so that one will be intense. Obviously, a British derby, so to speak, there in the tournament. That's going to be a big game, but I think that the most important group game for that group will be U.S. versus Wales. I'm thinking that the winner of that game will take second place in the group. Um, USA struggling, Wales struggled during this break, so it's going to be a very interesting prospect. Um, it's going to be interesting to see how Berhalter will approach that game. I think that we'd like to see our boys come out and try to play, try to keep the ball, and so I'm hoping they will as well. But the Welsh are going to be good at keeping the ball as well. So could be an interesting game, could be an interesting prospect. Could be a bit of a barnstormer, honestly. If we find our scoring boots, obviously the likes of Gareth Bale will be up for it on the Welsh side for that game. And again, if USA can take that one, I think we can get into the round of 16. So it's definitely shaping up to look like a wonderful, wonderful tournament. I know I'm excited. 8 years since USA have been in the tournament, and unfortunately had to skip the 2018 tournament, which for me was the best tournament objectively as a fan of the game in my lifetime. So I'm hoping that 2022 will not disappoint and will mirror that same energy, that same action. Had a ton of goals last time. Some knockout games going to penalties, a lot of drama. I'm absolutely pumped. It's been a long, long time. Uh, and I cannot, it's been even longer than it normally has been. As we all know, we're already 4 years and some change past the tournament from last time. And so I couldn't be more pumped for the upcoming tournament. All right, we will go ahead and move on to the Premier League coming up this weekend. I know many people who not necessarily huge fans of the international game are on tenterhooks. It's the day before, and we got some derbies coming up. Interesting to note that in this week, some of the conversations around in the podcasting world and around the league, interesting discussions about what might be the bigger derby, the North London derby or the Manchester derby. Now, I'm obviously biased. So my answer is obvious, but I will back it up with some objectivity. If we look at, first of all, we'll start with history. Arsenal Tottenham has always been very heated, no matter where both teams were in the table. Even when Tottenham were, a battling relegation side, it was always a huge game. Uh, for example, just ask Thierry Henry, who never lost to Tottenham in his career, and he absolutely loves that. Loves to be able to claim that, loves to be able to say that. Go back and watch the documentary about the Invincibles that they made way back in the day. And he's talking about, you can see it when he says that he never lost to Tottenham, what it meant to him. He did one of these. And so I think he really embodied that for Arsenal fans, even when Tottenham wasn't that great. Now we look to today and where we are in the league, what this game means for the league as well. Very, very scrumptious prospect. The fact that Tottenham are still unbeaten, still in third place, and we're at the top. So this one actually means more than most have. Obviously, the last one meant more than any had in a long time, and we kind of laid an egg at the Tottenham Stadium, which goes with the history. It seems that the home team has the advantage in this fixture. Something I'm grateful for, being the home team tomorrow morning. The lunchtime kickoff over in England, nice and early on the bright here on the East Coast of the United States. And so I'm obviously going to be up, going to be pumped. I mean, I'm already pumped, obviously. But I think that if you look at the other side, the derby between City and United. Yes, it's huge. Yes, there have been some big games recently. I seem to remember Wayne Rooney with one of the greatest goals ever in a Manchester derby. So definitely in recent times with City's rise over the last few years, I think that that rivalry has become more heated. But I also think that uh, the point must be made that there is a bigger rivalry to United fans. Most people, even though most United fans, I would say, probably think that Liverpool is the worst enemy. There's more hatred for Liverpool. They'd rather see City win the league than Liverpool, and that's a very traditional rivalry. So it's an understandable thing. I think that City being so dominant recently, being so good, and United in their rebuilding process definitely makes this one less of like a huge game, huge match. They're not as um, they're not as close as far as performance, as far as where they're at as a club overall. Um, Obviously, Manchester United are still the biggest club in England as far as on a global scale. So it depends on your parameters, but I think at this moment in time, this particular North London derby is definitely bigger than this particular Manchester derby. And so I definitely think that the North London derby gets the nod in this particular instance. Now, if we look at the game itself, I have to say that Thomas Partey's involvement in this game is crucial. It's paramount. You can see that when he's not in the game, we really struggle against the break, um, i.e., versus Man United. Simple, simple kind of three passes get by us in the midfield, and Rashford's in for the breakaway. I think Thomas Partey stopping that up first Tottenham is it's everything, honestly. We know what this game's going to look like. Arsenal have come out in every game, look the same. Tottenham have come out in every game and looked the same. So the pattern is already written in this one. We know Arsenal are going to have a lot of the ball. In fact, on the Big Six pod, shout out to those guys over there, they mentioned in one of the super chats that if Tottenham get 40% possession, the gentleman will be donating $1,000 to the Big Six podcast. That is absolutely hilarious. Confident, as you see, that Tottenham won't get anywhere near that amount of possession. And I totally agree with that. I'd be less shocked to see that Arsenal had 90% possession than to see that Tottenham had, you know, any more of the ball. We know they're going to let Arsenal have the ball and try to break on the counter. Definitely Conte ball, as we've seen over the years. And so it's interesting. I've heard that Kulusevski has an injury doubt, so that would be the starter for me up top for them with Kane and Son over Richarlison just because of his work rate and what he can offer. And so I think that us stopping the counter, Thomas Partey stopping the counter, Zinchenko, if he plays, will kind of with his pushed in role, it's going to be important to block up the passes when we lose possession and in transition. So that having been said, I honestly think that it would be a good idea to start Kieran Tierney over Zinchenko. Zinchenko definitely offers a lot going forward, as does Kieran Tierney, and so I also think that Kieran Tierney offers more defensively, and so I think that to stop the likes of Kulusevski, Son, Kane, we should play Tierney over Zinchenko, and our transitions obviously are going to be the most important part of this game. Can we slow the counter down at least to get everyone back and compact? Uh, that is pretty much plan A for Spurs. We'll invite the press, invite the possession, invite the other team to go forward, and then counter with pace. We saw it versus Leicester. We've seen it a million times with Kane and Son. So that is the most important thing defensively for Arsenal. It's interesting to see. I've watched most Tottenham games this season. They haven't been at it, and that is what is kind of scary for me in this game. Is that they have not hit the heights yet. Haven't been their best. There have been flashes of it. Obviously, game one versus Southampton. Obviously, the game versus Leicester. There's been flashes of it, but they've been sloppy in the midfield, been sloppy in possession. Even in that game versus Leicester, they were sloppy in the midfield, and it cost them a couple goals. So, honestly, if Spurs come out like that, like they have in the last few games, versus Sporting, versus Marseille, even versus Leicester, they came out, didn't look, Leicester, terrible. That's why I feel that they were able to get a couple goals in that first half, but they still were sloppy in possession, gave the ball away a whole bunch. And if they come out like that and do not, aren't quick, aren't sharp in the counter, can't keep the ball in the counter attack, we're going to smash them. 100% going to smash them. Arsenal always get up for this game, especially at the Emirates, and I think tomorrow will be no different. Honestly, I think it's going to come down to, for Arsenal, obviously we mentioned bottling up the counter. It's also going to come down to having that clinical edge in front of goal. We know we can create chances. We know there's going to be opportunity. And so I definitely think that if Arsenal can get a couple of first half goals and get ahead, I think we'll definitely be able to just like the old Arsenal days of old, the 1-0 to the Arsenal will keep the ball. We'll just keep the ball and they won't be able to get possession. And hopefully we can pass them off the park. I know that's definitely the plan. I know that we're definitely going to keep the ball well. We'll obviously come out like we always have and play well. So I think that it's going to be an inspiring match. It's always a good match, always a heated match. We know the hatred is there. We know the intensity will be there. And so if we can get a couple of goals in the first half, I think we could uh, come out of here with a huge win. Honestly, my prediction is 3-1. I know that Arsenal can give goals. We've made some really horrible mistakes for bad giveaways, and we normally give goals when we have those kind of glaring errors. So I definitely think it'd be tough to keep Kane and Son off the score sheet the whole game. So we might see a 3-1, maybe a 3-2, depending on how Partey's doing in the midfield. So I still back the boys to get this one, to get some goals in this one, especially if Spurs are as sloppy as they have been. We'll definitely be able to put them to the sword if that is the case. Hopefully, it'd be really cool to see Ryako Saka get a couple of goals in this game. Really kind of say, hey, don't forget about me. I know Martinelli's scoring goals. Jesus, obviously, scoring goals. He's changed our forward look. A lot more sharp, a lot more clinical in the attack. So I'm hoping that Saka can join in, get some goals versus Spurs, our hated rivals. But I'm so pumped, always pumped for the North London derby. Uh, I think that should be a good day, should be a good game, and should be a lot of fun. Hopefully, we can maintain our position for at least another week at the top of the table and hand Spurs their very first loss of the season, at least in the Premier League. So, we'll go ahead and move on to a couple of the other games here in the league this weekend. I guess we will start with the Manchester Derby. I know it's not till Sunday, but United go to the Etihad, and they are going to struggle, obviously. We all know how tough it can be to go to City, how tough they can be. It's scary that they haven't hit the heights yet either this season. So I think it could be a slow start from them. And if um, United can maybe hit one on the counter, it could be a close game. But if City decide to come out and not start slow, decide to come out and really press and really show up and really have the mentality of champions like we know they normally do. And let's be honest, Pep's going to get them up for this game. It's the derby, it's the rival. They're definitely going to be up for it. And so I think this could be a blowout. I think, part of me said 3-1 City, but I definitely think that's generous to United. If United aren't careful, if they don't, if they're sloppy in defense, they don't defend well. I mean, Varane and Martinez are going to be put to the test. Really, really tough. There's just so much quality all over the field for City. So it's going to be really, really tough for them. They're going to have to be really stout defensively, going to have to stand up and be really, really strong. I think if they can put Varane on Holland, um, for me, the best performance against Erling Haaland I've seen this season was Tyrone Mings for Aston Villa. And yeah, Haaland didn't seem to be too rattled versus him, but Mings really put the physical battle to him, really kind of put Haaland to the test, and he didn't have a great game. Sure, he scored. That's what he does, and so I think that if they can do that and really make it tough for Haaland, then they might be able to keep him quiet, maybe only one goal, and they might be able to steal something here. Might be able to make uh, maybe a draw even, and that would be absolutely monstrous for United, obviously, to go to the Etihad and get that draw. Um, it's gonna be tough though. That'd be so tough. Um, Interesting to see who's gonna be in the midfield for United. We obviously know City are gonna be stupid strong no matter what they play. Uh, Can't say enough about Kevin De Bruyne, one of the greatest ever. Looked great with Belgium this over the international break. I mean, doesn't he always? So it's going to be, we know what City's going to bring. It's going to be interesting from United. I think the biggest decision for Ten Hag is Casemiro or McTominay. You got to play Ericsson, got to play Bruno. For me, I'm taking Casemiro. The steal, the kind of a more of a bully in the midfield than McTominay is. McTominay uh, is a ball handler for sure, and he's had a good season so far. I just think that the experience of Casemiro and the you know the fact that he will be able to add a little bit more physicality is going to, for me, that's what I would pick. I would put him in to kind of keep them from getting absolutely run over in the midfield. Uh, but we'll definitely see going forward how that's going to look. I think at the end of the day, though, City will just be way too much for them. This could be 5-0, or it could be a close one. It could be a 2-1. Could be a 1-0, depending on how well United defend. Honestly, I think my heart's telling me it's going to be a 3-4-1. City can give goals on the break. That's how United will set up, I do believe, and so just like they did against Arsenal, and so could be 3-1, could be 4-1. Uh, you know, kind of tough to call, but I definitely think City are going to win comfortably. um, so we'll move on to another very important, very tough match at Crystal Palace for Graham Potter's very first match in the Prem, in charge versus Patrick Vieira. Crystal Palace, a tough place to go. I feel like they've been a bit unlucky this season. They've definitely got some dangerous attackers up top. I think they're compact. They defend well. Vieira's definitely got them playing well. And so this is going to be a really tough one for Chelsea. I think it's going to come down to have they gotten the rotation right up top? Have they figured out how Potter wants them to rotate, how he wants them to play? Uh, it was kind of interesting the first game for Potter in the Champions League. The rotation seemed a little bit, I don't know if sloppy is the word. They just didn't seem like they, were sure where they were going, what they were doing. I think if they can get that right, though, what with Mount scoring for England, Havertz getting 2 goals for Germany, that'll give them a boost. I think that this one is a real interesting prospect. I definitely think if Palace can defend well and Chelsea are kind of not at it, that they could drop this one. I think Chelsea could go to Palace and get hit. You know, Willie Zaha is one of those players where he might be anonymous for 80 minutes of a game and then score 2 goals and you lose 2-0. So it could be a tough one. Uh, but I also think that if Chelsea can find their scoring boots, they could run this one over. They've got the pieces. We know that. They've had the squad for sure. So I think it all comes down to whether or not Havertz, Aubameyang, and Mount, and Sterling can kind of get it going. If they can, they could walk out here 2-3-0, 2-3-1, something like that. But if they're not careful, they could take a surprising 1-0 loss to a quick Zaha counter. We know he's devastating, and we know he's got the pieces to get him the ball in the proper spaces. And he's got the skill. He's got the game. I mean, definitely one of the best forwards in the league for me. So this is going to be a really tough game for Graham Potter in his first match for Chelsea. Also, another interesting line to think about, new boss down at Brighton, former Shakhtar manager, former Sassuolo manager down in the Serie A. A lot of good things I've heard about him. Don't really know much about him. I've done a little bit of research, a little bit of cursory research. Sassuolo looked good in Serie A underneath him. Unfortunate circumstance at Shakhtar with the war and everything. Wasn't able to stay there. and comes in to the Brighton squad with a very tough start to life there in that team at Anfield. And this one's going to be a really interesting one to see how Liverpool look. Van Dijk looked good for Holland, got the goal to send them into the semifinals of the Nations League versus a strong Belgium team. So I think that also with their performance versus Ajax, I know that was 2 weeks ago, and that might not affect them as much, but it was a good performance. That was most encouraging from that game. And I think their Liverpool are starting to come back a little bit. Plus, it's at Anfield, um, so I think that Liverpool will edge this one, uh, maybe even 2-0. Might be a 3-1. It's just gonna be a tough game for Brighton. I think it's just gonna be a really good game, a really fun watch. Brighton are gonna want to keep the ball. Liverpool are gonna want to keep the ball. Both gonna want to play. Um, But I don't know. Maybe I don't. Uh, I guess the new manager is just too much of an unknown for me to know if Brighton will sit back or not at Anfield. We haven't really seen them do that much this season, but again, that was under Potter. We'll see if. I know they'll try to keep the ball. That's what they want to do. Should be a great game, but I think Liverpool will just edge it. Could be a 2-1. I think I'm going to go 2-1 on that one. Yeah. Definitely be a fun watch. I'll have to go back and watch that one. It's a 10 o'clock kickoff. I'll probably be watching the Chelsea game. So I think that that will be a fun watch later on. Another one that looks pretty interesting is Brentford versus Bournemouth. I think this is a very important game for Bournemouth. Very tough game for Bournemouth. They've been good since sacking Scotty Parker, at least better. So at home, they should be looking for a result versus Brentford. But honestly, I'm expecting Brentford to bounce back. Ivan Toney is going to be looking to get back on the score sheets. And Bomo up front, they've got a lot. They've got a lot to give, and I think they just might be able to edge this one. Uh, Bournemouth can be tough at home. They got a couple goals in them. So this one might surprise us and could be another barnstormer. Could be another crazy 3-3, 4-3 game. Brentford have got goals, and they didn't look great last time out versus Arsenal. Arsenal dominated the ball in that game, but Brentford were definitely sloppy in transition on the counter, so we were able to definitely take advantage of that. But I think versus Bournemouth, they might find some joy. This could be a really crazy game, a really good game. Or if Bournemouth decide not to show up, it could just be another bad day for them. Ivan Toney could just run rampant all over them. So definitely an interesting prospect. We'll have to see. I think it all depends on how Bournemouth are going to show up. We pretty much know what we're getting with Brentford. I think they're going to be tough away from home. I think if they bring the energy, they could get a good result here. Now we look to Craven Cottage. Oh my, what a delicious looking uh, prospect we have down there for that one. I think that obviously with Alexander Mitrovic scoring like he's born to do it, uh, is going to be big for Fulham. I think that it's going to be a tough game. Um, Newcastle are always good. They're quick. They keep the ball. I think this one could be another pretty crazy game. You know, Newcastle have got goals. We've seen it. They're good on the break. I expect them to probably let Fulham have the ball a little bit, maybe, which Fulham are, happy to do, happy to build, happy to get the ball to Mitrovic. Um, this one's tough to call. This one's tough to call. Like I said, it could be another high scoring game. Could be another good one. Maybe another 3-3, something like that. 2-2. Um, But the X Factor, I think I'm going to have to hand this one to Fulham. X Factor, all hail the mighty Mitrovic. He's just an absolute monster. 4 goals for Serbia in the 2 games in the Nations League. He's just got it. He's got that X factor. He's scoring goals all over the place. Only Kane and Holland are ahead of him in the league right now. I think that Fulham might just edge this one. I'm going to say 3-2. Crazy game. 3-2 Fulham. We look to Southampton versus Everton. I think this is a winnable game for old Frankie Lampard. I think if he can get Anthony Gordon scoring, if he can get Mope, who got the goal last time out, scoring, I think that Everton could come away from Southampton with a good win. Southampton defend well, but they have been sloppy pretty much all season long in possession. So if Everton can bring that little bit of quality, a little bit of sharpness, I think that they will definitely be able to get a result away to Southampton. However, if Everton can't bring the energy, can't find that their scoring boots, so to speak, this one could be a dull one. This one could be a 0-0, maybe a 1-0. I know Southampton they have some quality going forward, so they might be able to edge this one. Like I say, I think it could go either way, but I think that Frankie will look at this one as an opportunity for Everton to get a good away win. My heart wants to say Anthony Gordon, Neil Maupay, 2-0, Everton, just because I like Frankie Lampard, got a soft spot for him. But like I say, this one could go either way. The late game on Saturday, West Ham with an opportunity at home versus Wolves. I'd like to see Diego Costa get in the lineup for Wolves. Maybe they could actually get some goals going, something. West Ham, I think, have improved game to game to game to game. They've gotten better and better and better and better. And so I think that they're going to bring it this one. On this one, it's at home. They'll have the crowd backing them. I think, yes, Wolves are miserly. Wolves are tough to score against. But I would love to see Antonio break out, get a couple of goals in this game, really get some confidence going. Again, I love Mikel Antonio. He's definitely a for the badge kind of man, works for the team. So I think it's going to be an interesting prospect. I think West Ham can definitely pick up all 3 points here versus Wolves. I'm going to say 1-0. Mikel Antonio, hero, wins the day. And then the second game on Sunday is Leeds versus Aston Villa at home. I think this one will be another really, really good game. We know that old Stevie G has got Villa playing good, a little bit resurgent. I think they need to be sharper in front of goal, get some more goals in their game, but they have done that in the last couple of games. So it's going to be an interesting prospect away to a really strong Leeds side, who I'm always excited to see Leeds play. They're looking good this season, so this game could be another really good one. I think they're if both teams are pretty compact in defense, which they can be, I think this one could be close to a stalemate. Honestly, I think Leeds might just edge it, being the home team. I think this one has the potential to be another high-scoring barnstormer of a game. We know Leeds have goals. Villa have shown they've got goals. They've shown that they can be resilient. Example against Man City. So I think that it's definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. I think Leeds are going to edge it. We're going to go 2-1 Leeds, maybe 3-2 Leeds. 1 goal game. I think it'll be great. And then on Monday, I think the game Leicester-Nottingham is a monster opportunity for Nottingham Forest. Get a big 3 points away from home. Leicester are just so bad. Leicester are just so bad. So I think that Nottingham will see this. They should see this as a big opportunity for a big 3 points against a team that they'll definitely be battling against come the end of the season for relegation. So I think Forest have a big opportunity here. I just don't see, based on what I've seen from Leicester this season, I can't back them at all. I can't say that they're going to have a good performance. They haven't yet. So who knows what they're going to bring? Very interesting season they've had just because they've been so bad, which you just don't expect. So I think huge opportunity for Nottingham to get the win away to Leicester. I'm going to go 2-0 Nottingham. We know they got goals. And so I think that that's going to be a big away win for Nottingham Forest. The Prem's back. I'm so pumped for the Premier League coming back. Champions League coming up next week. Europa League as well for Arsenal. Got that PSV game. It's going to be big. I'm excited. International breaks over, and the games are going to come thick and fast for the foreseeable future. And we are going to eat it up here at the For the Badge podcast. Hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We got plenty more coming for you in the near future. Thanks again for listening. I'm Jake. This is the For the Badge podcast. Goodbye.